Welcome to Echoes of Ancient Minds, where the world's most dangerous, forgotten, and overlooked philosophies come back to life. Every video, we dig up an idea history tried to bury and ask what it still has to teach us today. Every major climate summit ends the same way. World leaders gather, sign ambitious agreements, announce bold targets, then return home to economies still built on extracting as much from the natural world as fast as possible. The targets get missed, the crisis deepens, the cycle resets. Here's the question almost no one in those rooms is asking. What if the reason our environmental frameworks keep failing isn't a lack of technology or political will, but a failure of ethics? 2,500 years ago, ancient Indian philosophy had already identified this exact problem. That framework is more relevant today than it has ever been. Our current conservation approach rests on one unexamined assumption: that nature is a resource system to be managed. Even our most progressive climate policies are structured around human benefit, reducing emissions to protect human civilization, preserving biodiversity for ecosystem services humans depend on. This is conservation framed entirely around human profit, just with a longer time horizon. And the results speak for themselves. Biodiversity loss is accelerating, carbon concentrations keep rising, and we are managing a crisis our own frameworks helped create. The ancient Indian concept of recepie offers a fundamentally different starting point. Recepie describes the cosmic rhythm that underlies all natural processes: the movement of celestial bodies, cycling of seasons, flow of rivers, patterns of growth and decay. In the Vedic framework, recepie isn't just a description of nature, it's a moral reality. Deforestation, pollution, and climate disruption aren't just miscalculations, they are violations of a fundamental cosmic order. The question stops being, how do we use nature sustainably, and becomes, how do we participate responsibly in an order we are part of, not above? In 1730, in the Thar Desert of Rajasthan, a woman named Amrita Devi wrapped her arms around a kedri tree to protect it from soldiers sent to cut it down. She was killed. Her 3 daughters did the same. By the time the soldiers stopped, 363 Bishnoi men and women had given their lives to protect those trees. This wasn't spontaneous martyrdom. It was the expression of a 500-year-old philosophical tradition embedded in the 29 tenets of Bishnoi faith, a detailed ethical code for living in sustainable relationship with a harsh ecological environment. The Bishnoi weren't performing activism. They were fulfilling a dharmic obligation so deeply internalized that sacrificing their lives for trees was, within their philosophical framework, the only coherent choice. Modern conservation science has begun to recognize what the Bishnoi understood for centuries: that communities with deep ethical relationships to specific ecosystems consistently outperform institutional conservation programs, not because of superior resources, but because of a fundamentally different relationship between human identity and the natural world. Dharma, in its deepest philosophical sense, describes the essential structural duty of a thing. Fire's dharma is to burn, water's dharma is to flow downward, a river's dharma is to reach the sea. In this framing, conservation isn't a lifestyle option. It's a fundamental obligation that comes from being part of an interconnected living system. This framing is already appearing in contemporary legal thought. In 2017, New Zealand granted the Whanganui River full legal personhood, mirroring what the Vedic framework had argued for thousands of years: that natural entities have inherent rights independent of their usefulness to humans. The ancient Sanskrit phrase Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family, makes a philosophical claim about the actual structure of reality. The separation between us and the environment is a conceptual error, not a natural fact. We are not in a relationship with the natural world. We are an expression of it. A global environmental ethics rooted in this understanding would measure corporate accountability against ecosystem health, define economic success by regenerative impact, and evaluate policy against the rhythm of recepie, whether human activity aligns with natural cycles or disrupts them. Ancient Indian philosophy didn't predict the climate crisis by accident. It predicted it because it understood that any civilization built on the assumption of human dominance over nature was philosophically unsustainable, regardless of how technologically sophisticated it became. So here's a question worth sitting with. If ancient Indian philosophy already had the ethical framework for sustainable living 2,000 years ago, what does it say about modern civilization that we're only now beginning to rediscover it? Let me know what you think in the comments. That's Echoes of Ancient Minds, uncovering the philosophy's history almost erased. If this kind of forgotten wisdom is your thing, hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one.